Hi, welcome to Tech Beyond Gender podcast. I'm your host, Meena Satishkumar. Today, I have with me someone who has shaped the voice of an entire industry. Victoria Vaughan grew up in Eastern Europe, discovered a passion for technology at her country's top IT university, and stepped into the CEO role at just 24 and leading it from a three-person startup to a world's largest crypto media outlet with over 18 million monthly readers. Now, she's moved to New York since, and she has founded B612 Tech PR, where she now helps tech founders craft powerful narratives and earn trust on the global stage. Victoria, welcome to our podcast. Very nice to have you here.
Thank you, Mina. So glad to be here.
So tell me more. I don't really know much about you. I'll be quite excited to know. I know you're joining from New York right now at this point in
Right
time.
now, I'm actually in San Francisco. I live in New York, but I came to SF to visit several of our clients and to go to events.
Oh, awesome. Okay, now let's take us back to your early life. Where are you from? What sparked your interest in tech?
I'm from Russia. I was born in St. Petersburg, and I think in Russia it's generally very popular to, like, for kids to have very fundamental math and technical education. So I went to school which had a very advanced math and physics classes, and we had a lot of informatics and programming classes. And I think generally I'm a very logical person, and always it was even a path for me to creativity, I would say. It's like surprising how some things in life are not that obvious to illustrate. I was also going to music school and I was taking piano classes. But how music is taught in Russia, it's very strict, and you have to follow a lot of rules, and it is based mostly on technicality and your ability to play classical things. Personally, I was never taught something like improvisation or how to actually create the music. It was all like very strict following certain rules. As opposed to that, programming for me personally felt much more open and creative, because when we had to write a program, you can do it in so many different ways. And for me, it was actually a class where I could be creative.
It's interesting how you said that, right? Like I would have thought, okay, normally they say, right, to use your left brain for logic and right brain for creativity. When you just started talking about music, I thought, okay, that's like activating a right brain and then your left brain. But then when you described how the music scene is, it just seems to be the reverse.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. How, so when you started off working in tech, are you still a musician? Like, do you play any music? Do you sing?
I sing sometimes just for myself, no way I'm a professional musician. With the piano lessons, I have not done it for a very long time after I graduated from music school. And just several months ago, I actually got like a keyboard for my place. And now I'm learning jazz improvisation. So as I see, I'm now more on the creative side of music, and of course, it's very different from what I was learning being a kid.
Yeah. So you graduated with a music degree, did you?
No, I was just going to music school when I was a kid. So I was going there for 7 years. But I think I finished when I was probably around 12 years old. But then my school was a very technical school, as I mentioned, with a lot of math, physics, and programming. And after school, I went to one of the top tech universities in Russia. I remember that we sat down with my mom and discussed what interests me and also like what's gonna be developing in the world. And we both like just discussed that tax seems to be something that's gaining a lot of traction and market and attention. So we decided that I will go to this tech university, and I was studying not like super deep technical specialty. It was called business informatics. So it's an intersection between technologies and management, basically something around project management and product management skills. And when I was, I think, in a third year of university, I started working and I joined a tech company in Russia and started working for a startup, initially as a business analyst. And then I was promoted to a project manager. And I was with that company for 3 years while still studying in university. Yeah, and it was really great experience.
Nice. How was university? Which year was it when you were at the university?
University, I started 2009 and I
Mhm.
graduated, I think, around 2013.
Cool. So, in a very tech sort of environment, in a university environment, were there a mix of genders within the campus for technology?
Not really. I would say always both in my school and university, the majority like were boys. So I would say maybe 5% of girls in class and 95% of boys.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, in your first job as a student, you mentioned you joined as a business analyst, right? Was there
Mm-hmm.
any specific reason you picked up the role? Because you mentioned that you really read in a very technical sort of subject. Did you get a chance to work on programming, uh, building applications and stuff, or was it your choice to actually work more in the intersection between tech and business?
Yes, I think I always wanted to work more on the intersection of tech and business, and my specialty was business informatics, which exactly we had a lot of subjects around marketing and business development. And yes, I did like programming, but I never saw like myself as full-time developer. Business side was always very interesting to me too. So yes, it did feel like a great opportunity to intersect these two things and to get a job of business analyst. So I worked a lot on market research, business requirements, working with developers directly to create the product for the market.
Cool. So, what happened after your first role, 3 years being in that organization?
Yes, with this company, we were traveling a lot. We were going to many different conferences, and at one of the conferences in Paris, financial one, I met a person who introduced me to the idea of Bitcoin, and I think it was around 2011 or 2012. Yeah, so that's how I even heard about it first time, and it was something very interesting and unusual. Back then, I don't think many people even knew about the idea behind Bitcoin. So, and we stayed in touch with this person. We became friends, and then when I wanted to change the jobs, he offered me to join his team and to work on a set of projects together. He had a set of different products he was started back then, one of which was Cointelegraph, a media company. And just like somehow naturally, I started helping with the processes in this particular project. And then it grew a lot, like you mentioned at the start.
So, what was your role in there? In that, it's a startup, I assume, right? With your friend.
Yeah, I joined him first as his executive assistant because he had back then several different businesses in finance, connected with HFT, and so on. So I was helping to him with different processes in the company. And then when he started Cointelegraph, I decided to go deeper in the processes of this particular project. So initially I was a project manager, then I started helping more with business development for that company, and then later I became a CEO.
Wow. So, did you miss not having to use your technical expertise which you got from university?
I would not say that I got like super deep technical expertise. We did have several programming classes, but it was not the core point of my specialty. It was more on the project and product management side of things. So, and I felt like I had a perfect like set of skills to understand how to develop a product and how to manage developers. So, for example, even with the media company, we were actually developing all the publishing platform from scratch. We were not using like anything like WordPress or other like platforms ready to use for the blogs and for the media. And we had quite unique features on that platform, and I was responsible for that product as well.
Now, you were a CEO when you were 24, right? How was it to be a CEO at that young age? Was it in Russia as well?
Mm-hmm. Um, To be honest with you, it did not feel like that much special back then because it was a very small team when we were started. But I personally still, I always had this thing that I take many things in life very seriously. And this is one of the skills I'm actually working on, to be more playful and live and to be fine with mistakes. But being from Russia, in Russian culture compared to US, for example, in US it's absolutely fine when you fail or when you make some mistakes. In Russia it's very different, and I was raised the way like you have to be perfect. So I did feel a lot of emotional pressure, like how can I be a CEO, what I don't know what to do. I have never managed a company. But then in the end, I had a lot of freedom to experiment. We had a great team. Everyone was young, had a lot of ideas, and we were testing a lot of things to make it grow. And probably because the market was new and we were trying so many growth hacking things, I would say. That's not how it's called now. I actually think it's one of the most important roles of the future to be able to understand how to grow a product without like huge marketing budgets. But that's what we were doing. We were exploring a lot of growth through partnerships, through connecting with different industry experts, making deals that would help us grow and leverage traffic of the partners.
Cool. That sounds a lot. Sounds like a lot of responsibility at the age of 24, right?
Yes, the world is changing so fast, though. Now, for example, spending part of my time in SF and in the Bay Area, I feel like people start building things so early. There are a lot of 18 years old, 21 years old founders who raise tens of millions of dollars to build their companies. And yes, we start doing things faster and earlier for sure.
Wow. So, what are you doing in San Francisco now?
I came to visit for a week. I went to several conferences here, one organized by Wired. It was called Big Interview. Another one big was by Axios, and just having personal meetings with several clients we have.
So, what happens? Where did your journey turn from being in court in Telegraph? Are you still there or have you moved on?
Now, I left Cointelegraph in 2019 because I felt like I wanted to start something by myself and test tested out as a founder. I felt I had a pretty good start and a good experience on how to grow things and how to manage things. And at the same time, Mm, for a very long time, I did not feel like my personality is a founder personality, and about many ideas in the world, I believe like what you tell yourself about yourself, this is the most important story of your life. And sometimes it's really difficult to change this internal story you're telling yourself. But I always wanted to try, but for a very long time did not feel enough courage. But then just some moment came when I felt that I just do not want to continue doing something for someone. I want to try create my own things. So when I started feeling this 100% confidence that I just want to try, I made that step.
How do you do it, Victoria? How do you get 100% confidence? Because, like, even I've had conversations with many women and others who have sort of thought about, okay, I want to do something, but it's always this hesitation. There is this imposter syndrome just holding you back. Like how you said, like you come from Russia, right? The culture is quite different. You don't take risk. You actually follow a set established pattern. And I come from a similar environment back in India, where we are just sort of trained to think in a specific manner. So, how do you actually break your own narrative and try something new and be brave?
In my case, as I told you, I just had this feeling I was coming more from I don't want to continue live this way. And some personal story for me, it was the same with my marriage. For example, when I was in Russia, I was married, and then there was a point. It took long time to make this decision to get a divorce, but at some point, I just felt this that I cannot continue living this way, and I want a different life. Maybe I was thinking around 6 months, like in case with divorce, for example. But then once I felt it, you just can't continue living the way you did. At least that's how like it works for me. And once I have this internal feeling that I can't do this that way anymore, I just do it.
Cool. So, what happened after Cointelegraph?
After Cointelegraph, with some of my former colleagues, we decided to build a wallet for Cardano ecosystem. It is one of the top blockchains, but back then it was like gaining popularity. And just as Ethereum have smart contracts, at that point Cardano was planning to launch smart contracts. And there is, for example, for Ethereum, the most popular wallet, non-custodial wallet, is called MetaMask. And that's the wallet that is used to conduct transactions on Ethereum and other EVM compatible chains. And we saw a big opportunity to be this kind of wallet for Cardano blockchain because they smart contracts were very different from the logic of how Ethereum contracts work. And we wanted to be this wallet for the whole ecosystem of products in Cardano. So we decided to build that, and we had an amazing early traction. We had a really high conversion rates. Cardano was really good in attracting community ambassadors and believers. So because we were very close with Cardano blockchain, we were able to onboard a good number of users that way. But then what happened is that we were relying on that moment that Cardano would launch the smart contract technology. And what started happening is that they were delaying that launch for longer and for longer and longer. Because our product strategy was relying on Cardano smart contracts, unfortunately, we faced that risk that happened that our main technology partner did not deliver those smart contracts. So for us, there was like no way what exactly we would deliver for our users. Yeah, so at some point we made a decision to sell that product to the launchpad we were launching with. Yes, and because of tech roadblocks, we had to basically freeze the development of the product. And I saw how it can happen that like one of the risks can actually happen, the external risks, when you when part of your strategy is relying on tech partner.
Wow. So then what happened? So, like, how did you gather courage? How did you get momentum to continue something else?
You mean after this wallet?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Cardano.
Yeah, after it happened, actually, I did not feel like it was my personal failure. You know, I felt like we delivered a good product that did have a lot of demand. We have had a very positive user reviews and very supporting and active community. So in terms of marketing and product development, I think it was a win. And the risk that happened, like I did not felt like I did something wrong personally, and this is like my big failure. So I actually enjoyed that experience a lot and wanted to continue my entrepreneur journey, and decided to try myself more on the service side of the business, where like here you would not have such external risks when like part of your strategy is relying on someone else's technology. And also why I'm enjoying now to build a service business is that I'm also able to scale it by myself. I did not have to attract any external investors, do fundraising. It's like a type of business you can be independent at and just grow organically by yourself. And that's what happened. And having a like good media background, understanding deeply how editorial processes work, how narrative building works, and having a good network in the industry, I was able to launch the PR agency quite quickly.
So, did you have a plan back in Russia that this is what you're going to do in New York, or why New York?
No, not really. I didn't have a plan. With New York, it's just a city I always loved so much. Every time I came to New York, I felt a very special bond with this city. And to be honest with you, when I lived in St. Petersburg, I had this habit that constantly I would spend maybe a month in St. Petersburg, and then I felt like I want to go and travel somewhere else. So I was traveling a lot all the time. And interestingly, I don't have this habit in New York anymore. I love it so much and I feel so much home there. I don't feel like I want to travel that much. I don't know, maybe it's also like a shift, in priorities in lifestyle, but I don't have this urge. And as I mentioned to you, after living in Russia after several years, I got a divorce. And when I was married, my husband didn't even speak English, so we did not really even considered opportunity to move somewhere abroad. Although personally, I always wanted like to go and try live somewhere else. So after we got a divorce, I had this feeling, okay, it's now time when I have my opportunity just to move by myself and build a new life. And New York definitely is not an easy city to move to. It is very expensive. So for me, compared to the level of life I had in Russia, like price value and the level of life, it was a significant drop for me. But life, luckily, I already had like a good career and some good traction with like the projects, and I had a pretty stable. I felt like I have this safety net, and that I can afford that risk for myself. So I came. and I got the short-term consulting project for a cryptocurrency exchange that was launching in New York. So for like 4 or 5 months after I just left, I just had this consulting job, while I'm just navigating the market, understanding what to do next. Yes, and then after maybe 6 months in New York, I started the agency.
Wow, you are amazing. Like how you could
Thank
just
you.
just move to a country and just navigate your way around and then be an entrepreneur in a completely new country.
Mm-hmm.
So
I felt
how
I already had a very international personality because like since my first job, this first startup I was working for, we were targeting international markets. So as I mentioned to you, we were always going to the conferences abroad. Then Cointelegraph is also a media company. Everything like it was in English, and we had an international team. So for Cointelegraph, the whole almost all the team was like distant working. Of course, we had an editorial team. Like a lot of our editors and journalists were in UK, in Europe, in US. So I did Personality wise, I mostly had international experience. I have never worked for a company that would target the Russian market. So culturally, I would not say it was like such an extreme shift. Personally, for me, it was more that, okay, now I finally live in a place where I'm meant to be.
very nice.
And New
Now,
York is also such a place full of immigrants where you find people from all over the world. And I was worried that people there would be very competitive and not very open and friendly. And it turned out to be not true at all. It is very easy to connect with fascinating people in New York. You basically can just call DM some absolutely top of the top people in the industry, and people are really open to meeting you, to having a quick coffee. So I think New York is an amazing place for networking, for career, and for the long-term opportunities you have. So right now, after spending almost 5 years here, I'm like very happy about the decision I made, especially after all the situation that like started happening in the political scene after I moved. So I felt like that was the best decision in my life, probably.
wow. So how does your firm approach tech PR differently from a traditional agency?
Mm-hmm. I think that in US, a lot of agencies, they don't have a very result-oriented structure. And oftentimes when startups hire an agency, then they have very like small control and understanding what the outcomes would be. And typically agencies push companies to sign a year, a 2 years contract without any certain number of deliverables. So I'm seeing that a lot of companies have a very negative, unfortunately, experience of working with many PR agencies. And my mission is to bring more result-driven campaigns for our clients. So in all our contracts, we always have these deliverables we have to achieve for the clients. And as it is more of a boutique agency, we always try to be almost like an extension to the team of the client and always play on their side.
Nice. So, what sort of founders come to you? Do you specialize in any specific areas such as tech, or have you got founders from other industries?
When I was starting, most of the clients were in the blockchain market because that's what where my initial network was, yes. Then I diversified into general tech as well. And for tech companies, it can be a lot of various industries. Of course, now a lot of AI companies, several biotech clients we have as well. And I really love tech. I love tech founders. I find them fascinating. A lot of extraordinary people who truly want to change the world. For now, like for the next 2, 3 years, we will continue focusing on working with tech companies. We'll see where it goes in the future, never say never. Maybe we will be working with some other industries as well.
So, what were some of the stories that you've heard from founders which have really touched you and inspired and thought, okay, this is the best job that I'm doing?
I have met a lot of amazing founders. One of my favorite clients, they're doing AI drug discovery. So they are helping to find treatments for cancer faster. And to be honest with you, after working with many clients in cryptocurrency and like DeFi field, it was so refreshing that like compared to people just launching some tokens, now these people are looking for solution to treat cancer. That was really inspiring. Another very interesting company we work with, it is started by a Stanford professor, and they're building a infrastructure to build software for robots, and they have a very approach to that and very interesting use cases. And Jan, the founder, has a very deep view on the industry, so it's like really interesting as well. And another one I'm really enjoying now, they're building a digital identity solution now, as like trust in the AI age is so important. The number of deep fakes because of AI is crazy. You never know who is calling you, your mother or some like fake AI bot to scam you out. It's truly important, and something that this founder told me, that he is just so like on some even spiritual level, he just has connection, with the universe, and he just knows that it's his mission. And I really enjoy working with these kind of people who are just so driven with their ideas. It's amazing to help them out and to spread the word about the things they're building.
Very nice. So, how do you actually see the tech startup scene in US? Do you actually see a very good equal gender split?
It is still very like mostly male dominated environment, both in California and in New York. When you come to tech events and when it comes to investments, I see that the majority of founders are men. Um, I think there was maybe from all the clients we worked with, there were two female founders, and like maybe less than 10% of like clients we worked with. Mostly it is still very male dominated industry.
Why do you think so? Because you've been working in the media, you're a PR agency. Do you have a sense of what could be happening? Because this is something that you have witnessed when you were a student in Russia too, right? Where there were not many women. So
Mm-hmm.
is that a trend? Does it really matter from country to country? Russia, completely different culture to US, and is the scene similar?
Well, actually, I think in terms of executive and founder roles in Russia, the situation is really good. In Russia, in tech industry, it is more male dominated, but business-wise, I think if you take the percentage of women having leading position, executive position, and being founders of the businesses, usually just those businesses are not in tech. Although in Russia, for example, the founder of like the biggest retail platform similar to Amazon, owned by a woman. I think in Russia, after Soviet Union policy, it was a very hard push about equal rights and equality between genders. So after that Soviet Union push, I felt like a lot of women like started like being more career oriented and work oriented. So outside of tech in Russia, like the woman leadership is doing pretty well, while in other countries probably this shift, like with Soviet Union culture, didn't happen in other countries. So a lot of that is coming from very conservative country history and values and all these ideas about um, women. I think now a big shift is changing when we have like more and more education and talks, possibilities for women. My estimation is probably in like 5 to 10 years, there will be much bigger number of like women founders and women holding top position in the companies. But in my opinion, it's a result of history, conservative values, and over time, I'm sure it will be changing a lot. Probably in the next 10 years, we will face that really time, the rise of women.
Yeah, I often find it will it ever happen, right? Because here I know someone who aspires to be a CIO, right? But when she's keen to apply for roles as a CIO, the ads explicitly say you need to have at least 10 plus years of experience being in very senior leadership roles. But even to date, you don't really see many women in tech senior leadership roles, for instance, being CIOs and stuff. So then it just becomes way too difficult. Whenever would apply for a job, there would always be this experience, lack of experience. And also, I feel it's the same with many senior technical roles, especially, right? As
Mm-hmm.
you said, like not many founders, not many senior engineers, not many tech leads, not many architects. And it's like, where do you begin? Well, because whenever you start, like, especially if you want to get into those senior roles, how do you get there without that basic experience? For some reason, um, women just drop out from in that chain of going up in senior technical roles or becoming a founder, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is challenging. Well, I think it's great that now I think there is a big shift into bootstrapping a lot of startups. And
Mhm.
now as the with all these vibe code solution and opportunities just to build products even without such deep tech education and ability to code. Um, there are a lot of opportunities to bootstrap your company, even for example, without any external investments. And I think there will be a big shift towards founders who will not be even interested in attracting external investments because, of course, always when you do that, then you are dependent on your investors, on your valuation, on the next round. And I think now there is a lot of freedom for women to learn all those AI skills, AI development skills, and just to have access to building products, to experimenting a lot, and be outside of these external dependencies of the companies that require you to have all these years of experience, you know?
Yeah. So, what would be your advice to a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old girl thinking about maybe becoming a founder in tech, but not too sure, like lacking courage or confidence? What would be your advice to them?
Learn all the AI skills. I think they are crucial now, and I think it's also very important to have a supporting community of people similar to you. sharing interests and helping each other. And I think right now there is a good number of these kind of AI communities helping women founders to navigate their journey. So I would definitely advise to join this kind of community where your mindset will be set to the idea that it is definitely possible to achieve success as opposed to relying in the bubble of the narratives how difficult it is. I think it's very like the first thing that's important in your life. As I already told, I think the story that you are telling yourself. So when you're surrounding yourself with the community of people who believe in you and who believe that it is possible, then in your mind it will be possible and you will achieve that. Me, for example, also, I'm like from a regular family in Russia, and now I'm living in New York and having my own business and work in a tech industry which is male dominated. So it's all about mindset plus consistency. Another side that is very important in career and in success, and one of the most difficult things in life, I think, is just to consistently every day make those steps that push you just a little bit, but towards your goal.
Wow. When you look back at your life, what advice would you give to your younger self, to your 18-year-old self?
Just to believe in myself more. I think early in life, I felt very not confident. And for example, when all those promotions were happening to me, I felt very uncomfortable and very frightened. And I was like, what is happening? I will not be able to solve this problem. Why was I promoted? I do not deserve this, which probably also a result of like how you're being raised. And
Mm.
it is not always even possible, I think, by 18 years old to understand what kind of psychological background and what kind of this, basic story you have in your head at this point of your age, you are not even realizing that. So, yeah, probably to myself, then also join a community of people who believe that everything is possible because I did have this mindset back then that I'm not good enough.
Mm. Interesting. Thanks for that. Now, when you like I have found many founders or many innovative people, they often struggle to articulate their vision clearly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are the most common storytelling mistakes you see, and how founders can tell stories that build investor trust and market adoption?
Mm-hmm. I think very often founders are too focused on technology and on the process, and they really fail to tell why the user needs their solution. So they tend to talk a lot about the features they product have, but not about the value they give to the users, to investors, and to the market. So this is the first one, unclear communication of the value and too much of the focus on your technology. Yes, developers and technical people especially really love going deep into all this technical jargon and so on. But you need to be able to explain your product and why people need it in a very easy way with like one line, basically. And I feel like the majority of startups do not invest enough attention and time into perfecting this one liner about your product. Another thing I find a majority of startups are missing out is actually making a deep research and comparison and media landscape analysis on what's happening in your niche. But when you do this kind of deep research, you already have so much understanding which messaging points you need to be talking about because you will be realizing what are the messaging gaps, what people need, and then like instantly you are able to relate to the pains that your users have and to be able to offer them a solution for those pains. And the second one, especially female founders, I think they also forget about the founder story and about the past. Overall, especially now in the age of AI and lack of trust, I think this personal story and being even sometimes fragile and open about your past and how did you actually come to this idea to build this thing. People always love following people, not the brands. If you go and analyze like social following on any like founder brand, the conversion rate to follow a person is much higher than to follow a social media of the brand, for example. So this ability to be human and to communicate openly is very important. There are a lot of frameworks how you can describe your personal journey in the way like it's interesting to read. Yeah, so this is very important part as well.
So, what excites you about the future of tech? Is there any specific area you're quite excited about? Wow, this is going to be groundbreaking.
Well, of course, right now there is a lot of narrative around AI and agentic web. Unfortunately, sometimes we hear a lot of dystopian narratives, but I personally more on a positive side. I'm very excited about all the AI video production technology. I think it opens up a lot of opportunity for creativity, for creating films and for creating new kind of social content. Basically, I think one of the biggest trends that's already happening and will continue to happen is that every tech company transforming itself into a media company. Now like companies all have they all earned their own channels like Twitter, LinkedIn, all those platforms, and how you communicate with people is through storytelling and through content. And now all these tech companies they have access to all the tools to be able to produce a very interesting content, something that was inaccessible even a year ago. You would have to hire like a film production studio, pay $100,000 for one video, while now you can become a video creator, and that what converts a lot. And that's what we are working on the agency right now. We did several pilot projects, the video projects for our clients that performed really well. So I'm personally very excited about everything around filmmaking and concept thinking. So I think with all these AI shift, what would be really matter is your ability to think creatively, to come up with the ideas and to concepts and with the concepts. So I personally now go a lot into very classic, like watching classic movies, the best like movies ever created, all the cinema, filmmaking. Also, I read a lot of philosophy lately. I think like the deeper you are able to go into like understanding of some basic concepts of the world, which I think all the philosophers were always trying to understand, is what will make you differ on the market, because now in the age of the short form and when people almost stopping reading books and all the social media transforms into a bubble of a very similar ideas and videos, what would make you stand out is your depth and ability to come up with these concepts, new kind of concepts.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for your time, Victoria. Any final thoughts or message to our listeners?
Mm, just make mistakes, try again and again, and be consistent every day with the steps that get you closer to your goal.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It was definitely very, very thought provoking. Thank you.
Thank you, Meena.